Welcome back, and this is going to start our second tutorial, episode 2, if you want to call it, into the basics of Photoshop here. And like I said, if you missed the first episode, which I guess I'll forgive, basically what we're doing is we're just going over the very basics of Photoshop. Just trying to give people, whether you're a new beginner and just want a foundation of what Photoshop does, what the tools are, how to use them, or if you're an experienced user and maybe you'll find some little tricks and different quick tips that you just didn't know about the tool. So, like first of all, we're going to just go through every tool. We're going to talk about each tool, and we're going to talk about how to use each tool and what each tool does. And and I'm going to be very upfront and honest about how much I use each tool. There are a lot of parts of Photoshop I don't use. Yeah, they're helpful. Yeah, I'm sure they're great, but I don't use them. And I retouch pretty much 40 hours a week at least, if not more. I'm in Photoshop probably 50 hours a week total, just constantly working in it. And, I still find stuff that I don't use. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I know exactly what to do with it or exactly how to use it, but I'll at least touch on it, show you a little bit of how it works, and you can go from there. So today we're going to start off with just going through the tools. Just forget layers, forget panels, forget all that stuff. Let's just look at the tools right now. So first of all, we're going to open a file. To open a file, you just go to the File menu up here, File, Open, and we'll just choose, I think I had some images from when I went down to Imaging USA, San Antonio here. We'll find a little image for you guys to look at, because honestly it doesn't really matter. It's just something to look at on the screen beside that big blank screen that I had for you guys last time. Let me know also, guys, if there's something that you'd like me to do different in the tutorials. If you can't understand what I'm saying, if you can't see my screen, I'm going to learn as much about tutorials as hopefully you guys are going to learn about Photoshop during this whole thing. So help spread the word. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you view these in HD. I'm sitting here making them in HD, so please view them in HD so you can see everything well. So let's get started on this. So like you saw, File Open, opened up my file here. The first tool, this is our little tools panel, right? Just like any other panel that I showed last time, we can move it around. Alright. What we have is, first tool is the Move tool. Okay, and if we, there we go, if we hover over it, we get a little tooltip, and you see how it says Move Tool V? Okay, what that's saying is the keyboard shortcut for the Move tool is V. Now, I will go ahead and tell you guys from the beginning, I know we're not getting techie, but just start learning shortcuts. If you want to use Photoshop and be proficient in it, if you don't want to get frustrated, you've got to use shortcuts. Alright? So this is what I tell everybody to do who I'm teaching Photoshop to. Go up here, highlight your tool, wait for the tooltip to come up. It tells you V. Okay, now press V to choose that tool. Okay, so if we were on the brush tool here, I'd go up here, Move tool. It says V, I would press V, and you can see that we've now selected it. This next tool down here is the Marquee tool. It tells me that it's M. I'm going to press M to choose it. Highlight it. It takes forever at the beginning. I know. But it'll be so rewarding in the end. People ask me how I work through Photoshop so fast, and it's because my right hand is on my tablet and my left hand is on the keyboard. And that's it. And I just fly. My left hand, I don't even have to look at the keyboard to know choosing tools, menus, options. It's amazing what you can do. And if you don't know what a tablet is, don't worry about it. Just think of it as a mouse for now. We'll talk about tablets later. So again, we're going to go to our Move tool, V. Alright, now what are our options with the Move tool? I'm going to sit here and click on it. La-di-da. You could not complete your request because the layer is locked. Okay, I guess I've got to talk quickly about layers. Okay, layers are down here in the bottom right. So right now you can see I'm just in the Essentials workplace, which is the very basic. If you've changed everything around on your workspace, you can just click up here and go to Essentials. And you can also click our little flyout and say Reset Essentials, which will reset your palettes back to the same way that we're looking at it here. So our first panel over here is layers. Layers, I'm not going to try to describe it, just understand that layers stack on top of each other for right now. And right now you can see it has this little lock next to it. That little lock next to it, that means it can't be moved. I can't do anything to this layer, okay? So, if I want to move this layer around, I have to either A, copy that layer so I have a free layer on top of it, or unlock my background layer. To unlock it, you can double click on it, tap tap, brings up this little dialog here that says new layer. You can name it, you can give it a color code, press OK. You can see now that that lock has gone away, and I can say I remove it. Okay, what you're looking at here, you see this checkerboard pattern back here. Those are transparent pixels. That means that there is no pixel data there. If you save this, sorry, I'm going to learn to silence all phones before I start tutorials next time. Isn't that great? But hey, alright, the Cleveland Indians won 13-9 over Toronto tonight, so that's worth noting. We're able to move this around. So this is basically just moving your image around in your little window that you have here. And that's the main object of the move tool. Now if we lock our layer back to where you can see I just went back in my history, don't worry about that. We're just restarting to where I was before. You can sit here and let's just take a selection. So again, I'm just demonstrating the move tool. Don't worry about following along or what he's doing or all that kind of stuff. I just want to show you. So what I did was I actually made a selection of this window, clicked and dragged it, and copied it to a new layer. So now you can see this layer is floating on top of my other ones. If we look down here on the bottom corner here, we can see that I now have 2 layers where I only had 1 layer before. And I can see that with my move tool here, we are clicking and dragging, and we are moving that layer freely around. Great. Okay, so let's look at our options for our move tool. Our options are auto select. One thing, just read the tooltips, you'll know what it does. Automatically select a group. My tooltip went away there. Automatically select a group or layer by clicking on a visible pixel. What does that mean? Well, right now, if I click down here, I'm going to actually do something really fast. I'm going just to take our second layer and so that everybody can see where our second layer is. So now we can see this is our second layer. So layer, and I'm sitting here clicking, but it's not doing anything. It's still moving this. Why is it moving our second layer when I'm clicking on the first layer? Frustrating. But if I click on auto select layer, okay, now if I click on my background layer, so now what we can see is that when auto select layer is turned on, it's automatically selecting my second layer and then automatically unselecting it. If I had multiple layers, let me make a third layer here. Now if I click this one, you can see it's moving this one. If I click this one, it's moving this one. Okay, so it is automatically selecting which one. You also have the option to select groups. If you know what groups are, then you know what that does. If you don't know what groups are, we'll get to that later, and we'll talk about that probably with groups and everything, but you can move entire groups of layers at the same time. Okay, typically I turn that off because actually what you can do if you want to auto select a layer is you can hold down Control and then click on that layer that you want to select, and you can see my layers panel. Sorry, I've been using Photoshop for a long time and it's hard to break the palette panel distinction there, but then you can see my layers panel here that as I control and click, it's automatically selecting those for me. That's how I like to work. Okay, the next one is show transform controls. What that does is whenever you select on a layer, it automatically shows these little controls over here that will let us go ahead and skew the layer and transform it. Alright, So free transform is a tool that we'll get into later, but know that that option is there. Alright, to get out of free transform if you ever get there, it's just this little no sign up here. I like to say the no smoking sign. Just that's what it's always looked like to me, so that's what I said. Honest, never use that. I would hate to use that the majority of the time because I don't want to accidentally select on a layer and then start transforming it, and especially since a lot of time I'm working with retouching, I could easily skew somebody's eye, I could move a head around, I can move entire, disproportionate bodies, all that kind of stuff. So what are all of these extra things right here? What these are right here are alignment tools. Okay, these are great. I'm actually going to take these two layers and throw them off here. Now what this does is I can select multiple layers, and to do that you hold down your control key. If you're working in Windows or most OSs, you're used to being able to control and click on multiple layers or files, shift and click on multiple files. Same thing with this. What we can do is hold down control key, click on our layers panel. What you want to do is click right in this area right next to the name. Okay, don't click on the thumbnail or the effects or anything like that. Okay, and what we can do once we have both of them selected is actually use these tools up here. One of my favorites, align horizontal centers. We click on this, boom, automatically lined up and centered together. How cool is that? Okay, so again, if another thing, when you have both of them selected, if you're moving the tool, they'll both move around. Whatever you do to the one, it'll do to the other. So I'm going to deselect those and have them individually. And again, and now we're actually going to come over here and we are going to align vertical centers. Boom, perfectly aligned. Great for lining up elements, great for a lot of things. Okay, we have other ones up here such as auto align layers. What that does is you click on that and it'll ask you, how do you want to auto align layers? Obviously, while we're just playing around, just let Photoshop do its thing. We'll get into some of these other ones later, but it will actually try to perfectly stack these layers on top of each other, and it'll skew it, it'll move it, it'll do whatever it wants to make sure it does that. These other options kind of constrain it. Feel free to play around with that. So there we go. I don't know why it decided to put it up in the top right corner, but it did. And you can see both of our layers are stacked right on top of each other. In fact, if I move one of them out of the way, you can see it was right there directly behind the other one. That is great for when you're lining up layers that are very similar to each other. I think that was introduced in CS4, and now it's the nice little shortcut key right there on the move tool. So that's the beginning of the move tool. I know I went through some things pretty quick. We went over all the tools of the move, all the controls of the move tool. But we also went over a couple bits of layers and everything. Again, this is to build a foundation. I'm not sitting here showing you guys, look what you can do in Photoshop immediately. I'm not doing that. I want you guys to understand how these tools work, what each thing does, and watch these, and then as you go back and play in Photoshop later, then remember them. I'll start doing a few tutorials on the side that things are we can do immediately, so you can have fun with Photoshop if you're learning it too. But these are going to be more of just what does this tool do, kind of other stuff like we talked about layers. I'm not going to get into layers. I'll mention it, but I'm not going to get into it until I'm ready to talk about layers. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys learned a few little things that you can do with the move tool. It's one tool that I use a lot, do a lot of head swap, stuff like that, and I'm moving stuff all around. One of the most simplistic tools, but also a very handy tool to use. So again, that's it for this episode, and I'll see you next time.